Modern day wearables devices like smartwatches and rings put out a whole lot of data when you're sleeping, but do you actually know how to use that information? Because it looks really cool, but what does it actually mean? Well, if you've got a modern day device, then there's probably three things that you're picking up that are really important that you can actually learn something from. The most important is your overnight heart rate. We can see so much about what you're doing, especially in your evening, that will affect your sleep just by looking at heart rate. We'll come back to that. The second one is looking at your sleep cycles. How many different sleep cycles do you have overnight? What are they? How deep do you get with your sleep? And the third one that's really important is your SpO2, in other words, your blood oxygen levels. So your sleep cycles are broken down into four things. So we have a wake cycle, a light, an REM, and a deep sleep. And these all do different things in the brain. We should work our way through them several times a night. Most likely somewhere around 5 times a night is ideally what we want to have with these. The biggest influence that though is your arousal rate when you go to bed. And this is really important because we can pick this up looking at heart rate. So what normally happens, if we look at the lowest heart rate you have every 30 minutes overnight, what we should find is that heart rate drops down until about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, so somewhere around here. And then what happens is that it comes back up again. So we have almost like a smiley face with our heart rate overnight. This mainly is due to certain hormones that actually change in the brain itself that help calm the brain down and help it refresh itself overnight. One of the most common patterns that we'll see though is a heart rate that starts high and then continues to drop, and then right before you wake up starts picking up again. So we have our lowest point just before you wake up, usually within an hour or so of waking up. This is a pattern that we often see with a brain that's metabolically active or exhausted before you go to bed. So they're pushing too hard. So this happens when this first period or this last period of time, this last couple of hours before bed, obtain too much stimulation. So this can occur if you've been spending too much time on your phone. It can occur if you've been spending too much time doing some exercise too late, if you've eaten too late at night. And this creates this level of metabolic activity. And this level of metabolic activity stimulates the system, which keeps your heart rate up. The main reason this is important is because if we're having this high levels of stimulation, this will throw out our sleep cycles and affect our quality of rest. The other aspect is really important though, is our SpO2. This is our blood oxygen levels overnight, and these are really critical. So there are a few different things that we can have with this. We should start with, we should always be seeing them over about 96%. That's our goal. So if we're going below 96%, there's potentially a problem that's within that area, especially if we're seeing it drop down for periods overnight, and that drop is more than about 4%. We should be concerned about it. So the few key things that we know that will affect SpO2. So the first one is your blood sugar levels. So those that have fluctuating levels of blood sugar, insulin issues, will often have problems with SpO2 due to inflammation buildup in the airways. The next is the immune system. So people with food sensitivities, people who are lactose or gluten intolerant, consuming those things can drive the immune system, creating inflammation, reducing our airway function. The third one is our vagal health, and you've heard me speak about vagal tone before, how important the vagus nerve is. So you can go back and have a look at all our HRV videos and things like this, and we'll talk about vagal function to some level, even how to test for it as well. But when we're looking at vagal function, the key thing with this is basically if we don't have good vagal tone and it's not working as well as it should, we don't have good muscular contraction around the throat, which is critical. And the final one is obstruction. This is what we often call obstructive sleep apnea, and this can come from airways that are actually narrow in size, poor bite pattern, oral development problems, etc. So these are the key things we want to look for. But one of the key things that really is more important than anything is just checking that heart rate. So let's start number one. Go through, have a look at your sleep cycles. Are we getting 5 of those sleep cycles each night? Then if not, let's go back to number 2 and let's check and see if we're having that heart rate drop like it should and that arousal rate where it should be. And then finally go through and check your SpO2. Make sure it's not coming below 96%. And if it is going below 96%, have a look and see how often it drops below 4%. So in other words, how much you have more than a 4% drop. So this is really a sign that you're not breathing very well overnight. Anyway guys, if you have any questions, all this stuff, I know it can be very complicated, please post them up and I'll do a separate video for you on those topics. Otherwise, please feel free to contact me. Me and my team are here to help you anytime you want. We'll catch you next vid. Bye for now.